Here's your news for May 18th, 2020. And your headlines for today include Axe Throwing Challenge laid down for WWE Raw next week. The real reason why Drew Gulak was released. WWE isn't worried about AEW signing former superstars anymore. Why Vince McMahon cried again. Roman Reigns is all set to make an appearance. One more wrestler takes a dig at Becky Lynch's pregnancy, and more. We're starting today with news from tonight's episode of Raw, as tonight's show will see another unique challenge between the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders. After the two teams met on the basketball court on last week's show, Viking Raider Eric sent out a tweet saying that basketball wasn't their game, but instead challenged the Raw Tag Team Champions to an axe-throwing contest for tonight's show. This will certainly be a very interesting segment to say the least, as it seems likely that the two teams will meet in the ring at Backlash next month with the Raw Tag Team titles on the line. Speaking of the Raw Tag titles, we've got news from former champions Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler now. As well, there was a time when it looked like the former Revival would now be called the Revolt. It seems that won't be happening. It was only after the pair trademarked Fear the Revolt for merchandise that fans thought it was a new name, but this caused some controversy with a North Carolina indie team who are also called the Revolt. Now, PW Insider is reporting that the former tag team champions received a 10-page cease and desist from Mason Burnett, who performs as Caleb Conley, and Zane Riley, which explains why the top guys shouldn't use the name. It reads, "The Revolt are well known in the independent professional wrestling circuit and are the current PWX World Tag Team Champions. Mr. Burnett and Mr. Riley sell a range of Revolt-branded merchandise, including t-shirts, hats, DVDs, as shown in Exhibit B. The Revolt has been their passion for years, and they have literally put their blood and sweat into building the Revolt brand and connecting with their fans." It wasn't long after this that the self-professed top guys claimed they weren't ever going to call themselves the Revolt anyway, despite trying to trademark the term Fear the Revolt, and instead will be known as FTR from now on. It remains to be seen where FTR will end up next, as the current rumors indicate that they'll be joining AEW, and given that FTR could stand for a lot of things, it'll be interesting to see how the team formerly known as the Revolt can be. Back to WWE now, and after the company had an issue with an indie company that tried to use the term "in your warehouse," Vince McMahon is making sure nobody tries this again. With NXT TakeOver hosting In Your House on June 7th, the company locked down the In Your House name last week, as they're clearly not taking any chances with their intellectual property. We've got news about Drew Gulak next, as more details have emerged about the former Cruiserweight Champion's recent and abrupt departure from the company. After losing to Daniel Bryan on the latest edition of SmackDown, Gulak's contract with WWE expired, and given that his contract expired and he wasn't released, that means there isn't a 90-day non-compete clause. Speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer claimed that money may have been a factor behind Gulak's departure, saying, "The story going around is essentially that he asked for a raise, they said no, and they pulled the offer that they had originally offered. It was something along those lines. It was definitely a money situation where, the basic situation is that they're not giving any raises right now, which I guess is understandable because they cut so many people. With the ongoing global situation and WWE not making money in ticket sales, it's not hard to see why the company didn't accept Gulak's request for a raise, as it seems the former Cruiserweight Champion has become the latest victim of the company's cost-cutting measures. With Gulak gone from the company, there's plenty of fans who would like to see him in AEW, but it looks like that won't be happening, but WWE aren't sweating the opposition. During Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer discussed the fact that WWE didn't offer Gulak more money, and added that the WWE doesn't consider superstars joining AEW as the huge threat they considered it a few months ago. He said, "They know it's not one of those situations like it was a couple of months ago, when somebody might go and help the opposition right now. They're not concerned with that anymore. That's the situation." Both companies have bigger things to deal with than the fate of one wrestler, as they're both trying to remain afloat in the ongoing situation. And while AEW made a small profit last month, they're not doing too bad financially, being backed by a billionaire with a greater net worth than Vince McMahon. We're looking at WWE's Undertaker: The Last Ride docuseries next, as the second episode of the acclaimed show included a very candid moment from Vince McMahon. When speaking about The Undertaker's loyalty to him, the boss got very emotional and tried to compose himself by clearing his throat. When that didn't work, McMahon ordered for the interview to be cut short, as it was a very emotional moment that the filming crew captured. This November will mark 30 years of the dead man in WWE, and given that every other big name from the time, such as Hogan, Savage, Warrior, Bret, and more all eventually left, The Undertaker's loyalty is clearly something the boss appreciates. One man who knows all about The Undertaker is Roman Reigns, and while there's reportedly no pressure for the big dog to come back following his hiatus before WrestleMania, the big dog is keeping busy out of the ring. Not only is he doing well on Cameo, but Reigns recently appeared on a live stream for World NF Awareness Day, bringing attention to those who suffer with neurofibromatosis. The stream was hosted by actor Jonathan Sadowski and greatly benefited the Children's Tumor Foundation, and it's great to see the former Universal Champion make these kind of public appearances, even with the current situation. We've got some more Undertaker news to report next, as while he may be the best pure striker in the game, his mother doesn't want to see her baby boy get roughed up. In an article written for ESPN, Shane McMahon discussed dealing with Mama Taker when he and the Phenom were going at it shortly before WrestleMania 32. He said, "She grabs me with both arms and stands me back. She says, in this Texas drawl, 'You know, you've always been one of my favorites. However, you hit my son right in his eye and made him bleed. You went down a couple of notches in my book.' She was scolding me for this moment on the last Monday Night Raw before WrestleMania when we were going after each other." Shane added that when he looked over to the dead man himself, Taker was lowering his head in embarrassment, as it doesn't matter if you're a Lord of Darkness, an American Badass, or the Last Outlaw, there's always going to be a protective mother to provide backup. From one legend to another now, as Stone Cold Steve Austin met a lot of people in his illustrious career, and one person was a young CM Punk. When the Second City Savior shared a photo of himself meeting Austin for the first time, he commented that he wasn't sure if it was 1995 or 1996, though Austin showed he remembers it as well, telling Punk it was 96 in Chi-Town. If it was 96, that'd put Punk at roughly 17 years old, and we can't think of many 17-year-old young men who wouldn't be swept up in Austin Mania in 1996. We're focusing on the stars of AEW next, as while Chris Jericho is one of the company's top stars, he wasn't always treated the same way in WWE. Speaking on his podcast, Jim Ross discussed the fact that Jericho was once set to main event WrestleMania 2000 less than a year into his WWE tenure, but was replaced by a recently retired Mick Foley. The legendary commentator revealed that it was Jericho's height that caused him problems, as Vince McMahon saw the 5'10" superstar as too short, which explains why Y2J wore lifts in his shoes for his early days in WWE. JR added that there is no other reason why Vince would have a problem with the Fozzy singer, as Jericho is notorious for being a great worker, highly skilled, and not getting injured. Ultimately, Jericho would have to wait 2 more years before he got the coveted WrestleMania spot, and while he would go on to lose that main event, it's safe to say that the first ever AEW World Champion's career has bounced back nicely. Back to WWE now, as while most superstars have congratulated Becky Lynch following her pregnancy announcement, one person who hasn't is Shayna Baszler. Following the man's huge news, Baszler branded Becky stupid for getting pregnant while champion, and is now making her feelings clear about Lynch and Seth Rollins' future child on Instagram, saying, "Yeah, that kid's gonna suck." The Queen of Spades will have to wait quite some time before she can face against the man once again, but with Lynch gone and Asuka now the Raw Women's Champion, Baszler will no doubt still be looking to capture her first title on the main roster. We are looking once again at the real-life beef between Mark Henry and Lio Rush now, as neither man is showing any signs of making amends. We've already covered some of this over the past few days, but this beef begins when Henry said Rush lied to him in 2019, and it's since escalated, with the Man of the Hour claiming Henry has pulled black wrestlers down. This last comment drew the ire of the world's strongest man, who told TMZ that he is considering legal action, alleging that Rush slandered him, and went on to claim that he's responsible for the majority of black superstars at the Performance Center. Replying on Twitter, Rush pointed out that Henry arguably defamed him first, as he was the one to call the former cruiserweight champion a liar to his 1.3 million podcast followers, and added that Henry didn't help the 25-year-old get hired, so he owes him nothing. As you can tell, this is a very ugly situation between the two former superstars, and while we don't expect the pair to be making amends anytime soon, hopefully the pair can keep a respectable distance from each other in the future. We've got news from the Octagon next, as while UFC isn't letting fans into their events, that edict doesn't apply to Jim Ross. After flying into Jacksonville for the latest AEW tapings, Ross chose not to fly back to Oklahoma in the current situation, but instead stopped by a UFC event in Jacksonville, which aired on ESPN 9. In a social media post, the WWE Hall of Famer shared a selfie of him wearing an official UFC mask, and it was quite a surprise to see him in the audience. JR is clearly taking things seriously, as he was wearing a mask, and he, alongside everyone else at AEW, tested negative at the latest set of tapings. Fans may not be able to see it, but we predict Ross had a big smile on his face as he was able to catch the action of UFC with the best seats in the house. Back to WWE next, and we've got an update regarding Becky Lynch, as following her pregnancy announcement on last week's Raw, fans have been left wondering how WWE are handling her contract. During Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer addressed the rumor that the company won't be paying the man during this time, saying, "As far as I know, and I don't know different, she's gonna get her downside, and they're gonna sell merchandise for her for the year, and you know they're gonna market her for a year. She won't be able to wrestle for a year, and whether she comes back, none of us know." As one of the most popular superstars in recent years, we expect that Lynch will still be selling plenty of merch despite being off TV, and it's not like she gave up all her income to have a baby, as she'll still be getting royalties and money coming in from her fiancé Seth Rollins. With that in mind, it was noted that WWE has the right to freeze her contract, something they've done to absent stars in the past, including Jeff Hardy and Rey Mysterio. At this time, though, the man is focusing on her upcoming role as a mother, and the former Raw Women's Champion will still be getting that WWE money. And we're finishing today with news from football, as we've got an update in Oliver Luck's lawsuit against Vince McMahon. As part of the suit, the former XFL commissioner is claiming he was fired without reason shortly before the promotion declared bankruptcy. Recently, McMahon's lawyers hit back by saying that Luck was fired for gross neglect and pointed out that he used a company smartphone for personal use and hired somebody with a criminal past. Now, Luck's own attorney, Paul Dabrowski, has hit back at these claims, as he appeared in court to say, "No one at the time said, 'Oliver, you're not following XFL policy,' or sent him a notice letter, which would have been required under his contract." Given that Luck is seeking an approximate $25 million, it's unlikely that this case will be going away anytime soon, as dealing with the now defunct XFL is yet another issue Vince McMahon is having to deal with.